Welcome back, everybody, to Neutrality Studies. This is Pascal, and I'm joined today again by Mr. Hüseyin Doğru. He is the first and only German citizen inside Germany sanctioned by the European Union on the Russia sanctions list. And there are some updates to talk about. Hüseyin, welcome.
Thank you for having me again here, Pascal.
Well, thank you very much for giving us this update, because your case is quite unique. Although there are other people who are sanctioned, most famously, of course, also Jacques Beau, in Swiss citizen in Brussels. Another compatriot of mine, Nathalie Jamb, Swiss citizen, but she's outside of the EU. She's in Africa at the moment, cannot go back home. You are the one case where we've got a German citizen with German nationality, or only the German nationality, inside Germany, and they're trying to take everything away from you. Can you maybe give us a very short rundown of when this started and what it meant for you personally?
I was sanctioned on the 20th of May in 2025, last year. Soon it's going to be the anniversary. Under the, as you said, 17 Russian sanction package, allegedly having close ties to Russian states as well as the Russian so-called state propaganda apparatus. And that was kind of explained by my coverage of the genocide in Palestine, as well as the crackdown on pro-Palestinian demonstrations in Europe and social protests across Europe. And the German government, because we believe the German government is behind that, which pushed for the sanctions, they explain it that my coverage of these three topics, as well as the very famous Humboldt University occupation by pro-Palestinian activists in Berlin, is creating discord amongst the European Union citizen, ethnical discord, as well as trying to undermine the stability of the European Union. Just this news coverage. Therefore, according to their logic, only Russia can benefit from it. And that's a proof for them that I'm a Russian disinformation propagandist or actor, as the German government now says. So, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, then sanctioning you. I mean, this was decided by the EU Council, not even the Commission, but by the Council.
Yeah.
That included you in this package of the Russia sanctions list. But the main accusation is that you've been covering Hamas and so on and so forth, and that you're Hamas friendly or whatnot because you covered this, and that then hit you without a trial, right? There's no trial, there's no hearing, you were never even warned. Just all of a sudden, basically all of your civil liberties, all of the rights you as a citizen have, including the right to have a bank account and free movement, are gone overnight, right?
Yes. I mean, sanctions are extrajudicial. That's how it's designed. So as you said, 27 foreign ministers come together behind closed doors. They have a possibly file like this and then decides all at once, the entire package. There is no hearing, there is no court, there is no defense, there is no access to evidence, there is nothing. So it is technically extrajudicial punishment, a trial or decision without a trial, and they put you in a situation where you have to prove your innocence. It's not that they prove give any proof for your guilt, and they reverse that burden of proof in that case, which is very hard because you can't prove that you're innocent.
But they're saying that everything is fine and your human rights and your legal rights are safeguarded because you have the right to appeal to the European Court of Justice, right? And because they graciously give you the route to go there, they keep that open. That's why everything is fine and fair and square and legal. But they can already take away and start the punishment immediately. And although they say it's not a punishment, right? It's an educational measure. You're just being disciplined. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So the European Union itself, on their website, they describe sanction as a tool to change the non-illegal behavior of a person. That means I want to change your legal behavior. You did not do something criminal, you did not something wrong, but you're doing something that I do not like. And then it goes further, says, we want to change the non-illegal behavior so the person promotes the foreign policy and interests of the European Union.
Yeah.
That is the definition of sanctions according to the European Union. So that itself is a problem. Then they say you have the right to appeal. You have the right to go to the court. But at the same time, I can't pay my lawyers. Like, how do I have access to the judicial system if I can't pay my lawyers to make use of that right? Because we are living in that system where you need money for everything. But I don't have access to the money. Now, the other funny thing comes. When I try to sue in Germany, the German government says that has nothing to do with us. It's the European Union. Then when we go to the European Union, which we are right now and waiting for a decision, the problematic there is now, I mean, we're waiting for a decision in the next 2 to 3 months by European General Court, which is one step before the European Court of Justice. Mm-hmm. They could decide on 2 levels. One is like, is any law violated? If they go that way, I will definitely win. Or the second way could be procedural mistakes. The problem is there is no procedural mistakes because that's how the EU works right now, if you like it or not. They built their own mechanism, which is not based on a court decision. It is based on a decision by politicians and diplomats. It's outside of the judicial way. So therefore, it is legal. And as the former European Court of Justice judge Nina Colvett said in her legal expert report on my case, which she said, like, this is violating every single law in Europe and member states, these sanctions. Even she said, we don't have any means to control these decisions. It's outside of the judicial system. That makes it hard for me to fight this.
Hey, very brief intermission because I was recently banned from YouTube. And although I'm back, this can happen anytime again. So please consider subscribing not only here, but to my mailing list on Substack. That's pascalotta.substack.com. The link's going to be in the description below. And now back to the video. Yeah, but this is actually where a recent decision by a local German court is so important because like people must understand how this interplay works between the EU level and the national level, which like play to each other constantly. And actually the EU level really kind of undermines the entire constitutional structure of Germany, where the constitution is actually there to protect you from overreach of the state. But because the state now says that's not us, it's the one above us, it's not in their purview anymore. Can you tell us what happened in that recent decision which you unfortunately lost?
Yeah. So what happened? My bank account or the institution did not allow me to use the money that I was granted by the German government in context of implementation of the sanctions.
Like €506 humanitarian minimum funds.
Yes, I have €506 per month for humanitarian reasons, which I have to pay my rent, my food, feed my children, everything, which is impossible. And also pay my bills because I have contracts that I had before the sanctions and I'm stuck in that. So the bank refused to process these payments. And I got warnings by these companies that I now owe money. And they threatened me to take me to court. And technically, you can end up in a jail because you can't pay something or you need to pay a higher fee in Germany. And then we appealed at the court and said, like, please intervene because these are my basic necessities. It's like telecommunication or other stuff. And the court decided that they can't force and they will not force the bank to do these transactions because the court does not see them as necessary and not as basic needs. Then my lawyers and we said, okay, let's say this is true, but I have financial damage of that and more financial risk and possible criminal investigations because I can't pay these fees and possibly going into jail. And the court said, this is in their decision, we do understand that there will be negative impacts because of this decision, but this is part of sanctions. So they say, we don't care if there is a negative impact. So why is that important? And then the decision, they said, that's the most important thing. This is part of the sanctions. So why is that important? What you also kind of highlighted is European law or decisions break national law and decisions. The European council, decisions taken there, or parliament, the European member states need to implement that, like sanctions. So I'm in a loophole. If I want to sue someone or somebody in Germany, they refer me to the European Union.
Yep.
But if I try to sue now the European Union or the Commission, Council, wherever, in certain things, they now started to refer to the German government. For example, we appealed the sanctions, we submitted our case, and the lawyers of the European Council made their defense. In their defense, they say two very important things. First, because of these alleged Russian ties, they say, we don't need to prove that he has Russian ties. He can't prove that he doesn't have it. They literally wrote that on paper. And the second thing is, the negative impacts that Mr. Dogru is explaining in his defense has nothing to do with the sanctions, because this is happening in Germany. And we are like, yeah, but these things are happening because of the sanctions. So I am in a legal black hole where the law can be used against me, but I can't use my basic constitutional rights to defend myself, because they can always refer to the sanctions.
Yep. They found a way to actually dispose of all of the 27 member states like basic constitutional protections of the individual by just making this part of the EU foreign policy, an EU foreign policy decision. And although in each member state the local courts might take different decisions, I mean, by now what's happening to you is very clear that the German local courts are more than happy to just uphold that and wash their hands in innocence, right? Like Pontius Pilatus, right? Pontius Pilate. It's like not me, wasn't me, it was the other one. It's absolutely disgusting. But you now have recently, and the humanitarian situation for you got even worse. Can you give us that update, please?
So we had already, or me at least, no access to money. The accounts of my wife were working because she's not sanctioned. She has nothing to do with that. But her savings were frozen since the sanctions day one. And we were trying to appeal that, and we made a lot of big fuss in the media about it, and the journalists were covering that, the friendly journalists, or the few who are covering that. And every time when I got the momentum in the media, German governments escalated things. And the last escalation is that they froze all the bank accounts of my wife. And again, she's not sanctioned. She's not even part of this process.
And who did that? Did the bank do that of
No.
its own, like overkill,
No,
or is it?
there is no court decision for that. This was a decision by the Sanctions Implementation Institution. We have something like that in Germany. Sanctions, Zentralstelle für Sanktionen, Central Station for Sanctions. It's like the body, which is, I think, subordinate to the Ministry of Finance in Germany, or Ministry of Economy, whatever it is called. And this is not a court decision. They just decided that. And the reason given there is, first, two reasons. They accuse in general that I have control over the money of my wife, and that we are trying to circumvent sanctions through the account of my wife. And the two reasons or evidence for them is, or indications is, first, that she's just married to me and we have 3 children. That fact is like, this is one proof that we are married, that we're so close to each other. And the second one is, because of the sanctions, my car insurances were cancelled. Almost every single insurance is cancelled because I'm sanctioned. I don't have rights anymore. And my wife did a car insurance for our shared car, by the way. It is our car, not only mine. It is registered on me, because you can't just use one person to register a car. And they say, oh, until now, Mr. Dogru was paying the last 4 or 5 years, apparently, all the car insurances, and suddenly his wife is paying that. This is very suspicious. We don't understand why. That must be sanctioned circumvention. And it's just like, maybe I'm sanctioned. That's why I can't pay that. And they're using these two things. And there is also part of sexism here, which is very important. I didn't even think about it because people commented on it. They say, like, the democratic Germany can't believe that the woman has control over her own money. It must be the man again, which is quite funny because we always lecture here in Europe women's rights, but when it comes on that part, is the German government now who's going back again, fighting back on women's rights. So that's kind of like the problematic that we have here. Now, what we are facing is, in the past, we could somehow survive because my wife had access to her money. Right now, it is almost impossible because my wife, me, my two newborns, and my almost 7-year-old child, we have only 506 euros for the entire month. Nothing else right now. We can't pay our rent,
right? Because you don't have anything more in a bank account.
I get it all. I have my money on my bank account. It's my money, by the way. It's nothing that the government gives me. I can take 506 euros cash out, not more. I can't transfer it. I need to go with this app. I don't have a card, and scan it in a shop, a grocery shop, and then they can pay me out. Not even at the ATM, not even at the bank. That's not possible for me. So we have only 506 euros left. And when this decision was made, it was 4 or 5 days ago, so before the last week of the month. And we had at that moment 104 euros only. And we needed to buy groceries. And now tomorrow I need to pay my rent, which I can't. So that is the situation. So what the German government, I'm going to say here now, even though it's an institution, but it's part of the German government, puts on purpose now the life of my babies in danger because I can't feed them. I literally can't feed them. And the other way of the escalation, which happened a little bit before that, is every country has a different constitution, a different law, so they need to adapt the sanction implementation according to their constitutions. So in Germany, that was decided on, I think, mid-January.
Yeah.
The sanction implementation law, I think it was the 16th or 15th of January, which is unique in itself. It's nowhere in Europe as aggressive as Germany. My lawyer even made a joke. He said, like, they did it extra for you now in the history books. What they did is they escalated so much in this law that even the support to my babies now, if you come to my door, give my babies now nappies or baby food, you can, in theory, that's very important, you can get sentenced up to 10 years prison because you support babies in a humanitarian catastrophe. So they don't per se say that in the law itself, but the law's written so vague that everything can be put under this law and be sanctioned. So when last Friday, this seizure of the bank accounts of my wife happened, a lot of people called, Sevim Dardelen, the German politician, as well as my lawyer and her assistants. They came to me and they said, can we do something? And my lawyer said, don't. You are not allowed. And they were also shocked. And even all the people, maybe this is also a message to all your viewers in every single language that you're publishing, is everyone is writing me right now, how can we help you? How can we help you? Please tell me, how can we help you? First of all, I'm very grateful for all these messages, but you can't send things to me or money because that will be used against you and against me. So that's why I can't comment and answer these emails or comments on social media, because they could use that to sanction me even harder. So now the last thing that I want to mention is, which is the most dangerous part, every time the government escalates, so there is now the next step, because we're thinking about how far can this government go? They can go very far. I mean, we are seeing the helping genocide in Palestine. They're helping the aggressions against Iran. They're supporting it politically, destabilizing everything. Whatever you think about Iran or other countries, but Germany is an aggressive nation now, militarizing. So they will do everything also inwards right now. So we have now a situation, you know it maybe, Pascal, in Germany we have this, maybe also in Austria, Kindeswohl. It's like the child protection. There is a law for that, which is very, very, very important in these countries here, and which is good to have that. And what does it mean? That if you can't provide for your child, if you can't keep your child safe, its health and everything, the German government can take away your children and put it in safe custody. So in theory, I'm in a situation like that where they put me in with my wife that we can't provide for our children. And if they want to escalate, they could come now and take away our children because they have the legal grounds.
Yeah,
And
especially in a situation where you go on podcasts and actually say that you don't have the possibility anymore to care for
yeah,
your children. I mean,
yeah,
but what else are you supposed to do? Is like, are you just supposed to pretend everything is fine? Obviously not, right? So they put you in a situation where you then kind of produce self-incriminating things and just a situation in which what they created gives them the ground to do even harsher and worse things to you.
yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the strategy as well here because they're sanctioning me. They're trying to break me. They're trying to break my family, and attacking me. They're trying. I mean, first they targeted me, then they targeted my wife. Now they're targeting deliberately our children. They're targeting children here. I mean, that we need to know that now. But there is a reason behind that. They're creating a precedent case so others are scared. And people are scared in Germany. Journalists are scared in Germany. Like if you look at the German media landscape, now slowly there is an awakening. People report, but it is always the same people usually. It's the Berliner Zeitung, it's Junge Welt, is Florian Warwick, the very famous journalist now, who I'm also very afraid of. He might be sanctioned as well because he does journalism actually, and Germany does not like that right now. And every single journalist is silent at the German press conferences, for example. I think it was yesterday when Florian Warwick asked at the German press conference, the spokesperson for the German finance ministry or economy ministry, explain my situation. The children are in danger. How can you justify that? The spokesperson said, we are not aware of the situation. That's something new for us. We need to look into it. And all the other journalists, they did not ask one single question. And this is the effect. They don't need to censor anyone anymore because they're censoring themselves. And that is the strategy. The more we hurt Hüseyin Doğru, the more the others will be silent. And that's why my case is not my case, it's technically their case. Because they're coming after them.
Yeah. Do you think, we are at some level we all just have to guess, but the day, is it really a group of people who you think have you in mind when they do things? Or are we facing a situation in which basically a EU German kind of bureaucratic overreach monster where just like one cog plays into the next, and then at the bottom, like there's like your human rights shattered on the ground, and just all parts do exactly what they're supposed to do, but they do it on overdrive, and then everything is destroyed? Or do you think that there's really a couple of key players who have in mind to politically put you out there, nail you to the cross, and tell everybody, look, that's what happens to you if you too go that route?
I think it's a symbiosis of both things. I mean, as we know, sanctions were always designed
Yeah.
against people outside.
Yeah.
Um,
And the thing is, they're designed to impact the system, right? So that the system then is exerting this force. That's what's
yeah,
happening to you actually, right? So
yeah, yeah. So sanctions, first time with me being used inwards. I mean, there are other European citizens sanctioned, but they're not in Europe right now.
yeah.
So therefore, I'm kind of like a testing ground. How far can we go? What is possible? What do we need to fix in our national state laws to be able to sanction inwards? That's what Germany right now does. How are we going to implement that? How are we going to prepare the judicial side of everything to be able to implement it in every single country? And I'm like a testing field because Europe itself, I think, is not a Germany thing. I mean, Germany and France are the driving forces in Germany, politically, economically as well. And we know that Germany as well is pushing for militarization of Europe. They're very eager to go into, they really want this war against Russia as well. Whatever we think about Russia, we see that European economy is being destroyed, especially German economy. I mean, if you look at the news in the last 2 years, the German heart of the industry. Car industry is crashing. They can't compete anymore. Van der Leyen said a couple of months ago, civil industry could produce also or be part of the military industry. And now what does Volkswagen do? They decided to produce iron domes. What do we see with Rheinmetall? They're changing and exporting and are the big winners here. So they're preparing for war. They're preparing for militarism. They're preparing for aggression outside. But that aggression turns also inwards now as well. Not only in Germany. Maybe Germany is the best example because of its history and because it's the leading country, one of the leading countries in Europe. But this is a process in Europe. And if you look who's leading Europe, it's again the Germans. I mean, look at van der Leyen, look at whoever. Ideologically, it's there. So it is testing with me, but preparing all the other countries as well. Not to have any opposition in the future, not to have critical journalists in the future, not to have critical people on the streets in the future. Let's make them scared with the president case because it's easy. He has a foreign name, even though he's German. We still pretend by the way, they still pretend until today I'm Turkish citizen, even though I'm just German. Still until today. He has this Russia label. He has this terror propagandist supporter label. It is easy. It is acceptable. And let's try how far we can go.
I mean, it's very sad to me to see how some quarters of Germany react to this. I've just read you're part of two journalistic unions, right, in Germany, and neither of them thinks that your case is worth protesting against.
Yeah, I'm part of, or I'm a member of Verdi, which is one of the biggest trade unions here, and their journalist union as well, German journalist union, DJU, and German journalist Verband, DJV. Association, exactly. So people need to know, before I was sanctioned, there was an entire media campaign against me. He's Russian, he's this, he's that, terrorist supporter, Jew hater, and whatsoever. That was led by several journalists in Germany and several newspapers, which one was like Taz, supposedly to be left, which is not left. And their journalist Nicholas Potter, who spread rumors, who spread allegations, started a defamation campaign, who, by the way, just accepted a journalist prize from Israeli weapons lobby organization in Germany, but accused me.
No surprise there.
Yeah, but accused me I'm a Russia state-funded journalist. So by trade unions jumped on that and supported these claims and campaign against me. Publicly as well, criminalized me, and in no single way, never talked to me, never. So after I got sanctions, I contacted these people, nothing. They stripped me off of my press cards, press accreditations, and the last thing was that the DJV, my trade union, or representatives of me, were asked by a German journalist, what do you think about the case of Hüseyin Doğru? He's now in a humanitarian situation. Do you share what is happening to him, or do you agree to that? They said, we're sharing the assessment of the German Foreign Ministry, kind of like we are against Russian disinformation. As long as the opinion of the German Foreign Ministry does not change, ours will not be changed as well. So you have a journalist trade union who should be critical. Every single journalist trade union in the world should be always critical with their governments. It doesn't matter if it's left, right, whatever country that is, because that's the heart of democracy. Journalism is a tool that the government should be afraid of. But now these journalists, as well as trade unions, are supporting. They're part of it. And that kind of reminds what happened in the past in Germany as well. In the 30s, we called it Gleichschaltung. I don't know how you translate that into English, where technically during the fascist Nazi Hitler time, everything was synchronized.
Yeah,
synchronization. This is happening now.
Yeah.
And this is a part of that where you trade unions criminalize, and there is a political reason behind that, because if it comes to Israel, That's the red line for them. You don't criticize Israel.
It's just quite insane. So this process of synchronization, it's not as if though the foreign ministry had directly an arm and was threatening people in that trade union. It is another phenomenon, and it's maybe not coincidentally that it's the German language that creates these kind of difficult to translate words. The other one here is vorauseilender Gehorsam. So to obey in advance, advanced obeying. Which is also a very kind of German language thing.
Yeah.
Of like saying no. Let me try to figure out what the authorities want, and before they tell me, I already implement that so that I'm always on the good side of them. So this is a typical case of what's happening here, and then how all of these, how all the machinery, which goes beyond the legal machinery, starts like really producing absolutely horrible outcomes downstream.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these trade unions are supposed to be independent. You're not connected to parties. But if you look really at trade unions, who has influence, is like on one side is the Social Democrats, and one side is the Christian Democrats. They kind of control it. There is a lot of lobby going on, lobby work going on by politicians there. And then it's hard to have a trade union that actually does its work. I mean, the job of a trade union is to protect your union members, to protect the workers, to protect the union, to protect your journalists, whatsoever. Rather than doing that, I mean, they don't have to like me. That's okay.
No.
It's good that we have different opinions, but at least come and talk to me. Look at the evidence first. You're a journalist. You're supposed to be critical. You're supposed to talk to the other side. You're supposed to, you have the obligation or the responsibility to try to be as objective as possible, okay? And look at evidence. It's not evidence-based. They don't even say, we don't have to look at it. Don't even show us that.
Yeah, but what they are doing at the moment, it's so nasty on so many levels. Actually, I got a couple of emails telling me, Pascal, you need to be careful with Hüseyin Doğru because he did put out a couple of things that are highly questionable in the past in his medium. And I had to tell them, look, the second you do that, you fall for it. If you tell other people that this person, because he put something out that's legal and fair and square and whatnot, but it's questionable, if you fall into the trap of then going inside this and starting to say like, yeah, look, he cannot be completely clean. But if you do that, then you've fallen for it. Because again, if you did something illegal, there would be all the ways of the state and criminal investigations to prove that and put you behind bars the legal way. But there isn't. Hence,
There
they go
isn't.
the extrajudicial route. And if you fall for that trap, then you fall into this kind of the narrative about there must be something trap of the other side.
Of course. I mean, that's what Germany did. Germany couldn't silence me. Germany couldn't put me on trial. They knew no court, no German law would punish me here. That's not possible because the press freedom, according to the law, is very protected, like freedom of speech or whatsoever.
Yeah, for good reasons.
Yeah, for good reasons. We have the history for that here. That's why they transfer it to the European Union, because it is extrajudicial. There is no judicial way for that. They just decide it. They have the right just to decide it. And that's why they're doing it. And I think that's the most dangerous tool here. That is any unique tool that Europe created. And that goes back to 2012, 2013, and that is the monstrum that was created now, and it is working. They see, oh, that is working. We don't need the courts anymore. I mean, I'm going to give you another example how courts are not really important for the European member states anymore, for Germany. Two examples. There is this international arrest warrant for Netanyahu, right?
Right.
Germany said, we will not obey to that. It's like, wait, you are signatory to that. You have to. And the second thing is, there are some cases of Russians who were sanctioned, and the European Court of Justice overturned these sanctions. Like, still since I think 3, 4, 5 years, the European Council and European member states refuse to respect that court decision, the highest court in Europe, and do not lift the sanctions on these people. So the question now for me is, why should I go to the court if you do not respect that anyway? And what is your court's legitimacy to judge me right now if you don't even obey to the law?
Yeah. I think if I got it right, the point there is that whenever the European Court of Justice rules that the listing, the reason for the listing, that's the only thing they can rule. They can just say the reason for the listing isn't factually correct, therefore the person has to be removed from the list. But what they can do is they just change the reason. They just give a different reason and leave it on there. And the court is actually kind of pissed at that, if I'm correctly informed, that they say like, look, this undoes our power to check you. But still, until now, they just do that. They change the reasoning and say like, court, you have to go through it again and you have to do your whole judgment thingy again. Which is a joke. And that leads then the question: what can you actually, in practicality, do? I mean, did you one more court that would be open to you, but it's more of a moral court than not, is of course the human rights way, either in Strasbourg, right, the European Court for Human Rights, although there's problems with that, or inside the United Nations we have a system as well. Did you think about that?
So our strategy is, I mean, the problem is you can't be at several courts at the same time. You need to go step by step.
Yep.
So we are right now at the European General Court, Luxembourg, I think it is. We're waiting for the decision. We think it's going to be negative because they can decide on two ways. One is by law. They're looking, hey, does it violate any law? Then I would win. Then the other side is procedural mistakes. I will lose. They're going to decide on the procedure mistake because it's a political case.
Because they will just say like all procedures were kept. There's no contract that bites the other one. Therefore, it's all fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, all fine. Because the political environment does not allow something else. And I think one of the people you interviewed said once, I don't even remember who that was. You're interviewing so many people lately. He said, it needs political courage by some judges to overturn these sanctions, which are illegal, but the courage is not there. And it is also dangerous for them. And now, if they decide negatively, we are going to the European Court of Justice, which is the highest court, which takes, again, 1, 2 years, 3 years, maybe until then I'm still sanctioned. We are in this loop, possibly with my wife's stuff also frozen. And after that, then we can go to European human rights or UN, etc., etc. But this is a long way. The other thing is also what people don't know is we are living in a system where you can fight for your freedom when you have the money for that as well.
Yeah.
Because a court case, until then, you go and go. It can go up like 150, 200, 300,000 euros. So how the hell should I pay that if I'm not even allowed to work?
This is a purely technical question, but
Sure.
What happens when people don't give you money, but they pay your contracts? What if somebody decided to pay for the rent of the house that you're living in? They're not giving the money to you. They're paying for that thing.
Yeah.
Is that, how's that?
It is not allowed because they can say Hüseyin Doğru is benefiting financially from that.
Yeah. You're not allowed to benefit. It's not that you're not allowed to receive. You're not allowed to benefit.
Benefit. That's the word there. Benefit. I mean, one could say, yeah, the contract is on Hüseyin Doğru's wife's name, which is, even that you can't do, because then through a third party I'm benefiting. That's the new German law, which is unique. In other countries, I'm not sure. I don't want to say something wrong, but as far as I know, the families can get stuff. In Germany, is not possible. So they go. You're asking about the rent. I just gave an example. You can't even give diapers to my child.
Right.
You know, forget us. Right. You know, a diaper is very clear. It's for the child. I mean, I'm not going to work with a diaper here. You know, I'm not benefiting from that. So everything is possible now, and that's the whole aim. It's just a scare. So, but there are because again, that's the topic. How can we support? So
yeah, exactly.
They are now people coming together, politicians on European level, like MEPs, but also local in Germany, as I said, with Seven Dardelen, Ruth Firmenich on the European level, and some other parties who are trying to build, I think, something to fight sanctions in general, because they're not allowed to help me as well. So rather than me, they want to fight the sanction regime itself, possibly, or trying to create or find other ways and means and strategies, legally, obviously, everything to support people, or to be a place where people can come and trying to get information about these sanctions. Because it's not only about us that support, which I'm talking, it's also about other people who are scared. Even journalists are right now, can I talk now with this person? Can I write about this stuff? And it's going to be kind of like legal advice thing for other lawyers, for journalists. And they're working on that right now. But at the same time, they're trying to do also preparing an international campaign, as far as I heard, which is for me and other people. And I think that's the best way to support me, not only me, it's like Nathalie Yam, Jacques Beau, and the other journalists. Now they sanctioned again people. I mean, there is also another case of a French citizen who was sanctioned by the French state right now, because his name is Shahin Hazami, which happened a couple of months ago. They broke into his house, armed police, like special anti-terrorist police, broke into his house. They published all the videos. So people are right now looking at Jacques Beau, at me, Nathalie Yam, but this is happening on the EU level, but these things happening on the national level as well right now, across Europe. And these are cases that we don't know. There is this German, I think they're living in Germany, Lebanese guy, I forgot now his name, who's at the UN. He's like an advisor to the UN, Lebanese government or something like that. They debanking him. They debanked him, debanked his wife, and there's also a strategy across Germany right now, debankings, also across Europe. So the repression started on different levels, because you asked, they're targeting specifically you. Is there systematic? There is a systematic already working. That, it's like debankings. Then you had criminalization of activists, like the most famous one was Palestine Action in the UK, and NICAP. Then you have Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur, was sanctioned. Then you have journalists, or then you have debankings of not only journalists, individuals, or politicians, also from organizations. Like in Germany, the most famous cases was Rote Hilfe, the organization that was created in the 30s by anti-fascists to support each other as kind of like a legal fund. So it is happening, but the funny thing is, it is happening only to people who it's not funny, it's obvious, only to people who are criticizing the system.
Right.
Not part of the system. They are allowed to spread all their things. Like what happened yesterday, just a last example, the Syrian president came to Berlin.
Right. Right.
The Syrian president, who was, or still is, I don't know, ISIS leader, who killed civilians, raped people, butchered people in Syria just a couple of years ago. Now they're rolling out the red carpet, while people who criticize that system being sanctioned, debanked, or imprisoned even. So this is where we are in Europe today. These are European values today. And this is what we need to fight all together. And this is the best thing that people can do to support us, but also support themselves.
Yeah. Who was it? Who said that when they came for the communists, I didn't speak out? I was no communist.
That was this German priest.
It was not Bonhoeffer. Was it Bonhoeffer?
No.
It wasn't Bonhoeffer. Anyhow, it's exactly that. It's exactly that. And all of these I don't want to call them journalists, because like if you don't ask these kind of questions in the federal press conference about a case of other journalists, then I mean you kind of lose all at least you lose my respect. So these people, then they just sit there, and one day they will look back and be like, yeah, maybe it started with Dogru. and now it's happening to us, and it will be way too late if they don't get their act together and actually start protesting, because it's absolutely right. And Hans-Georg Maaßen made that point on my show earlier, and he's a conservative. He's a conservative German. He was the former president of the uh, uh, um,
Domestic intelligence.
domestic intelligence agency, and now he's being spied on by that very agency himself. But he was the former president of that, and he made that point on this show, that this is political repression, and it can only be fought with political means. You can use and exhaust the judiciary because you kind of have to prove the point, but at the end of the day, only political means will solve a political problem.
Yeah, I think that's also the thing with what now people trying to create a political movement, a political protest. And this is the only thing that will help us, I think, as well. Not only me, the entire society, to stop this authoritarian mechanism on different levels. We need to wake up. We need to see that history does not repeat itself, but there are parallels which are happening again. We have a economical crisis, political crisis, and people need to wake up, not to consume things just how they are.
You need to tell me though, and I really need to have that discussion at some point. A couple of years ago, there was this movie, and it was very famous in Germany and actually internationally. In English, it's called "Look Who's Back," and in German, it's called "Er ist wieder da." And the movie was premised about Adolf Hitler waking up in Berlin one fine morning in 2015 or whatnot, and then he's back. He's just back, and then he does his thing. And the whole premise of the movie is that in the end, everybody wears the brown uniforms again and starts following him again. And I thought, this is kind of the wrong premise. I mean, if he came back, I'm pretty sure he would join the Greens. It's like, why do the Germans wait for another brown man to come along and speak like Hitler, when in fact the political tendencies, of course, happen within the system that is built already? I don't get that.
I mean, maybe it's a harsh comparison, but I get the analogy there. It is that a new way of authoritarian regime is being built across Europe. A new way of oppression is built. They don't have to do what they did in the past. That's not necessary anymore.
No.
You just, I think we should not be. I mean, we are already in a different. As I said, there are some parallels. People are just like, how could far right fascistic parties be in the parliaments all across Europe? You say, yeah, people warned you about this, but you are like, freedom of speech. You granted freedom of speech for fascistic organizations or right-wing organizations, but you shut down the voices, all the liberal journalists, shut down the voices of leftists, anti-fascists, or people who are fighting that. And now you're like, oh, how could that happen? Is this the same right now with what is happening to us, to me and others? Is like, you supported all these things because it was Russian agency, Russian disinformation, because it was just labeled Russian or Jew hater, Palestinian supporters. And now you're waking up, oh, that's actually also targeting me now. How could that happen? If you are silent, that's going to happen to you, definitely. And this is the problem that we have. This is why at some point people wake up one day, it's just like, wow, that's a different situation that we are in now.
Yep. No, you do. No, that's a point about principles. You need to defend them when in the small cases, not wait until like 50% of the population are being targeted and so on.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Hüseyin, like, is there anything that we should add to this discussion that we haven't mentioned yet?
No, I think that is all. The only thing is, again, protest.
Yeah.
Send protest emails, send protest letters, not only for me, for all those who are sanctioned, everyone in his own country. Be critical with us as well. Don't consume everything what you hear. Even our conversation, don't believe what we say. Research it. Go to the sources. Talk to your politicians. Talk to your trade unions. And make sure this is not happening in your country, whoever is now watching, because that's the only support for us that you can make. Yeah, that's it. And thank you for all the support to everyone. It is being, since a couple of days, really, really positively overwhelming. And I hope and I know at some point we're going to overturn this. But it is a long way. And also to you, be careful, please. And thank you for your work, because you're talking things that people don't want you to talk or us to talk. I mean, we might agree maybe on 70% of the topics will be together, but we need to be able to talk. You know, that's the whole point. That's journalism. That's freedom of speech. So yeah.
And just also as a little shimmer of hope, good people, even when they sit on the other side of the political spectrum, like Hans-Georg Maaßen, a very conservative personality, principled people, they will speak out for you, and they will actually say, like, look, this is wrong, even if I don't support that. I mean, that's Voltaire, right? It's like, I might not like the guy's opinion, but he must be able to say it. And the good people, they do that. And there's actually a lot of them out there. Just unfortunately not at the levers of power where it currently would matter. My friend, stay strong and all the best, and we will talk again. If there are any updates, please let us know.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pascal.
Hüseyin Doğru, thank you for your time today.